Hey, this is called TVZ Macro Play, and I love. I'm coaching 3 people right now, and Tony's TVZ is the one that I like the best because you just make Hellions and tanks and Thors, and it's like it's so much easier to play that way. um, and everyone else. I mean, it's even myself. It's really hard to play mech in TVZ and not mech in every other matchup. It's hard to keep going back and forth and still stay fresh and stay good at mech. Um, but it's worth it, man, because just mech is so much easier of a strategy in TVZ. So let's see how this goes. He showed you his Overlord, and you're like, oh, now I know your location. That was easy. And then you scout that he got gas. The fact that he got gas means he intends to be on your side of the map within the first 6 minutes, or he intends to get quick roaches so that he can take his third early, but usually it just means he's getting ling speed so that he can get map control. If he doesn't get gas, if you scout like no gas, that's a great sign. It means he's not going to be attacking you until like at least 8 or 9 minutes. But when he gets gas, it doesn't really mean that he is going to attack you. It just means that he can, and that means that you have to get bunkers and play safer. This bunker is terrible, honestly. First of all, he can just surround it. Like, if you take lings and completely fully surround a bunker, it dies and only kills like 2 or 3 lings. It's ridiculous. But second, he can go around it, especially with roaches, and just generally, it's not very safe. I was just talking about how I love that you mech, and you're not meching. You're gonna go for some infantry. It looks like 3 racks, and then get a factory. This build is really not safe. If he does an 8-minute roach ling all in, you're just dead. There's nothing at all you can do against an 8-minute roach ling all in with a 3 racks opening. You're starting to get an engineering bay and a 3rd geyser. He scouts everything you're doing, and I don't think he's gonna know how to react to what he's seen. But if he were a more experienced player, he would say, oh, you're just going pure infantry and you don't even have a factory yet. That means I can all in and kill you. It's kind of too late now. He doesn't have enough larvae to get out a good all-in force before you have your tanks out. So you're so far ahead on economy at this point, even though you didn't even ever cross the field, that like you kind of win from here. Look at this. It's 46 workers and it's not even 10 minutes yet. This is like really I mean, when you play greedy, you get a huge economic advantage. He should be punishing you for playing like this. He should have all-in and killed you. But because you didn't, you got this huge economic lead. Theoretically, you've got a $2,000 income right now, but for some reason there's no mules. Where did the mules go? You have no energy. You must have scanned. Don't scan. Scanning is bad. Whatever, you can scan. I'm just saying. Sorry, I just want to check this because I'm obsessive. So yeah, you've got only a slightly bigger income than him now because you've scanned, but your army size is bigger, your tech's bigger, your infrastructure is bigger. You're just kind of ahead in every way, but not way ahead. I'd like you to be way ahead, but it's okay. So you're gonna push up with your first 2 medevacs. This is really bad. I mean, it's gonna look good. It's gonna work really well, but only because your Zerg opponent sucks terribly. There's an 8-minute benchmark for Zerg where he's supposed to have 52 workers, and this guy has 28. So he's basically screwed from here. The way Zerg works, their economy is what is it called? Anyway. The more minerals they have, the more drones they can make, the more minerals they can get, the more drones they can make, the more minerals they can get. It loops back on itself, and it's exponential. Their economy is exponential, and it's driven off of minerals. So anyone who takes 4 geysers this early while not fully saturating their minerals is never going to be able to get enough drones in time to have a reasonable income. So the thing in this game, without even putting any pressure on the Zerg, without even doing anything to the Zerg, he already killed himself. Just by not making any workers early on. So you're gonna get over there with your Marine Marauder force, and you're gonna crush him. But it's not gonna be because you have Marines and Marauders. It's gonna be because he suicided by not making any workers. He's constantly adding lings and spines and very bad Zerg you got here. Moose. Moose. You got it. Moose has to be willing to die because you got too many drones. Because if you live and don't get enough drones, you're going to auto-die anyway. So, you know, better to risk one, which gives you a huge lead if you don't die, than to risk the other, which, you know, there's no scenario in which it comes out ahead. So he throws down some fungals, rips you to shreds, and that's obviously one of the main vulnerabilities of going for infantry heavy play. But now he's used all his fungals, and you're going to get to kill some infestors here. He shouldn't have brought his 0 energy infestors up to just kind of look at your medevacs. This is very silly of him. And now you're going to kill the queen instead of the infestors. Infestors are so low health, high cost. You should always kill them if he lets you. So now you're going to go home having been utterly crushed in that engagement, but your economy is still so far ahead of his that, you know, there's like nothing he can do. The secret is Hunter-Seeker missiles. Mwahaha. I'm sure he's being sarcastic because Hunter-Seeker missiles take like 5 minutes of having your Raven alive before you can even cast one. They're terrible. This orbital third is a little bit, like, again, this is something that the Zerg should have punished you for. He's going to run in 4 lanes, but that's not really what I meant. He could have, again, if his whole giant army had been here, he could walk in and force you to lift and retreat. And I kind of like orbital thirds and orbital fourths and stuff because even though he does force you to lift and even though he does get to kill a bunch of SCVs over and over, being forced to lift is not the same as losing a PF. I hate losing a PF and then having no way to mine. So here we go. You're way ahead again because your economy has been much bigger than his. You're 30 supply ahead. But he's still got a composition that's like really good against your composition. So Marine, especially Marauders. Marauders are... They're a tricky unit, right? They have their place in TVZ, but their place is to have medevacs repairing them while Blue Flame Hellions stand behind them. They don't actually do anything damage. They don't do any damage against Lings. And they can't reach infestors if he's doing his Ling thing properly. So, again, he's just going to fungal your entire army, surround it with Lings, and just rip it to shreds without taking any damage. And this is, you know, again, the vulnerability of going pure infantry against Zerg is that Zerg has... Zerg is the only race that just has a massive, heavy, low-tier, easy-to-get counter to heavy infantry. You know, I mean, infantry styles are really popular in TVP and TVT because there's nothing Terran and Protoss can do to stop infantry styles. But Zerg, you just make Lings, which is your tier 1 unit. And you rip them to shreds, and Banelings, which is a tier 1.5 unit, and I mean infestors are great too, but you don't even really need infestors to win this. So he's again he's falling into the very typical Zerg mistake of throwing away his infestor energy. You're way ahead on economy. You've got 3 fully saturated bases. You've got a lot of mules that you haven't dropped yet, probably because you're waiting for this base, or maybe just because it's an accident. And you're continuing to pump infantry and medevacs with a tiny smattering of tanks that you don't even have siege mode for. These tanks, by the way, are just a waste of gas. But at this point, I mean, you have a lot of gas coming in and nothing better to spend it on, so I guess I'm okay with wasting this gas. You got the Ghost Academy. I don't like that. Ghosts are kind of pointless nowadays. You're not keeping up on double ups. Your gas is just kind of piling up, and this is a big vulnerability of the heavy marine style. I love Uber ups. I love heavy marine in TVZ, and it's good against this type of Zerg, a Zerg who self-suicides, you know, who doesn't make an economy by constantly coming back over and over and over with a high medevac count and really heavily upgraded infantry. The Zerg will just fall apart because he larva blocks himself and he just ends up, you know, paying more attention to defending than he does to saturating his bases and getting a reasonable economy. And it's probably like it seems like that's what's going on here. The Zerg's money is piling up. He's constantly had a smaller army than you, even though every time you've engaged, he's crushed your army, like $3,000 ahead on damage done total. Every time you fight him, he kicks your butt, like severely. But it doesn't matter because this constant pressure that you're applying is convincing him not to make the drones that he needs to actually succeed in this game. So again, he fungals, rips your army to shreds, takes no damage whatsoever. This is, again, compositionally what you're doing is irrational. It doesn't make any sense against upgraded Ling Infestor. And this is actually why upgraded Ling Infestors become such a ubiquitous and popular and, you know, all-encompassing ZVT strategy is because it makes him basically immune to infantry and medevacs, which is the easiest Terran strategy to do. I remember once upon a time, long ago, in the far away, I used to talk about the TVT rock, paper, scissors, where basically everybody by default wants to make medevacs and infantry, right? That's what everyone wants to do in every matchup, no matter what, because it's the most fun style to play, it's the easiest style to macro, it's the easiest style to micro. And no, it's not the easiest style to micro, but it's the easiest style to move around the field, you know, to react to drops, to react to run-bys. It's quick, it's mobile, it's awesome, it's fun. That's what everyone wants to do. Okay, so then there are certain things that are really good against that. Anything that's heavily area of effect based, like siege tanks or blue flame hellions or colossus or infestors or banelings. All of those things are crazy good against infantry. So in TVT, we had this rock, paper, scissors where everybody wants to make infantry, and so a lot of people are going to, whether or not it works. And so then tank Viking becomes the dominant TVT strategy because it's good against infantry, which is what everyone wants to do. And then anything that's really good against tank Viking, like heavy Thor tank, becomes a good sneaky thing to do because it's a counter to the most popular build. When they nerfed Blue Flame, they kind of did away with that rock, paper, scissors, what's it called? Mechanic. But anyway, same thing is kind of true here in TVT. Everyone wants to be doing the infantry style that you're doing because it's really fun. But it only really works if you get a massive econ lead. You're just dominating him on economy. And there are other strategies like mech that will beat him even on an even economy, and so those strategies are just better. So you have one that's really fun and one that's better, and you're doing the fun one. And I can see that this game was really fun, and you did it well, and you had a lot of fun. But again, you only won because the Zerg didn't make any drones. So I like that you attacked in multiple places. I loved your carpet bombing doom drops to spread him out at his main. I liked that you kept your medevac energy, not your medevac energy, but your medevac count high enough to really deal with those fungals pretty well. I like that you constantly attacked him over and over and over. I've said a lot of times Zerg depends heavily on map control because they can't make a PF at this distant base, and this base is really far away from this base. So if they want to have this base safely, they have to control this area of the map. They have to have creep spread all in here. They have to see you coming long enough to move their army into position. So a Zerg really wants to be on, you know, the middle or in your side of the map constantly. And if you keep attacking and dropping and attacking and dropping and attacking and dropping, then he can't keep his army out on the field. He can't keep his creep spread alive, and it takes map control away from the Zerg. And this is kind of the style that I used to play myself. One thing I would mention is that if you're going heavy infantry, you should really start those 3/3 upgrades right after your first big push. You're gonna get punished for this eventually, making orbitals undefended orbitals. Like, the Zerg was pretty stupid not to punish you for that. And this too, building stuff out in between your bases. It's good if you have a bunch of siege tanks hiding behind it or something, but if you're just going infantry, there's really no reason to build stuff in between your bases. Yeah, so generally you won that only because you had a crazy good economy. You had almost 50 workers at 10 minutes, which is really good for a Terran. But even better, he had only 34. And that's not something you caused, he just chose to suck. Boop.